How do we deal with a delay in response to a dua that you have made for over a decade and be in a state of acceptance? First of all, you have to remind yourself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Hakim. That's a good question. Allah is al-Hakim, which means He is the all-wise. He is al-Alim, He's the all-knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does everything in the right way, at the right time, in the right degree, to the right level. And so even in the question itself, when you say there's a delay in the response, that in itself is actually, I would say, something that you would need to correct within yourself. That it's not a delay in the response, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is never late. Allah does everything at the right time. And He grants you what you need at the time that you need it. Whatever it is that you're making a dua for and you really want, the first thing you have to acknowledge is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired you to make that dua means that He's going to give it to you. The question of when and where and how is irrelevant. Just know that if Allah permitted you to utter with your tongue, to manifest a dua for something that you want, you now have to give yourself the certainty, which is one of the first signs that maybe you're not certain. You're asking, you're making the dua, but like the question is, are you actually believing that this could happen? I guess one of the first things that comes to mind is Zakaria alayhi salam. I mean, Surah Maryam is really interesting with Zakaria alayhi salam. He first asks Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant him a child. He's old, his wife is old. And so he gets his dua replied to, and he gets the child. And he says like, وَاشْتَعَلَ الرَّأْسُ شَيْبَةً. Like, but I'm gray-haired. I don't understand. That's an interesting opening in Surah Maryam. That Zakaria, a prophet, asking Allah with certainty, he gets responded to, he gets what he wants. And even at the time he's getting it, he's still in shock. What? Like, really? At my age? This is a very strange thing. So you have to have that certainty that if Allah manifests something on your tongue to ask Him, Allah is not miserly. He's not going to make you just for kind of kicks and giggles. I'm going to make this person make a dua, but I'm not going to grant them. He's going to grant you that thing. And that's the certainty you have to have. Whatever you're asking for, you're going to be granted. Now, how is it going to be granted? What are you going to be granted? What you're asking for is, a lot of times we focus on the specifics of the thing that we're looking for. But what we're actually looking for is something that comes after getting that thing that we want, right? We're seeking to get extra income because we want to have more comforts, because what all we're seeking is really just a state of peace and happiness. You might think that you might get it in this particular way, and that's why you're making the dua for that thing. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows why you're asking for that thing, even if you don't know it yourself. Even if the subconscious within you that's driving you to make that dua is looking for a particular effect from the thing that you're asking for, and you continue to ask for it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows why you want that thing, and He's going to grant you the effect. Even if He doesn't give you the specific thing that you're asking for right now in the way that you're asking for it, because getting it would probably be detrimental to you, He knows why you're asking for it. And so He will grant you a thing that will fulfill that desire that's pushing you to make that dua. I hope that makes sense. So to give you kind of an example from my own life, just to make it a little bit more concrete. In my undergraduate work, when years ago, I was so just attached to wanting to work at the Dili Cancer Center. I was just like, I'm going to be a cancer researcher. I really want to do this. This is the best thing ever. And I had 3 interviews, and I was staying up till 3 in the morning. And my dad would come down from their bedroom, sees me working on it. I was really just on my proposal and the research for it and all that. Eventually, it didn't work out. 3 weeks later, what did work out was getting it's a non-prompted position in a neuroscience lab that I didn't even know existed in the university, to work in an area that I had zero experience in. I took 0 neuroscience courses before that. I didn't know this lab existed, but I just took it anyways. And alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. you ask me now, would you go back and change anything? I was like, absolutely not. This is the best thing. So, and this has happened in my life in many different ways, where things that I wanted to get at a particular time didn't happen. And with what I would, in our timeline, we would think is a delay. It's not really a delay. I get exchanged for something better. And when thinking backwards on it, I was like, subhanAllah, I couldn't even plot this any better. If you looked at the reel of your entire life at the end of your life, you would not want to change anything, including the tribulations that you went through, because they make you into the person that you are and got you to the point at the end that they got you, and eventually reward you with the reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store for you. So you have to remind yourself on a constantly when you make these du'as that you're making them and you're looking for them, but you also know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of choosers, and you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Hakim, and you know that your sustenance is going to come to you, and that nothing is going to be too hasty or too delayed. There's no such thing as there's a delay. That's just us, our nafs, our lower self talking. So you continue to make the dua, and it's like that cartoon. I'm sure many of you have seen it. The difference between one who arrives at like riches, at a gold kind of treasure, and the one who doesn't is the one who keeps digging a little bit longer, reaches it, whereas the one who stops after digging for a long time, and now if they just went a couple more times with their shovel, they will get to the treasure, but they give up at the end, and so they don't get to the treasure, whereas the other one just keeps going, and they get to the treasure. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves insistence. And so one of the ways that he gets insistence from his slaves is he does not grant you the thing that you want immediately, because he wants to hear your voice calling for it. And in that, there is such beauty when you think about that Allah wants to hear my voice. Allah wants me to talk to him. Allah wants me to ask him. And so once you get that thing, you may not be calling upon Allah anymore. And that's one of the other reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not grant you the thing right this minute. Not just because it's not right for you right this minute, but also because Allah loves to hear you calling on him. And so, there's just a couple of thoughts for you to kind of ponder and reflect on. Your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is valuable, and he wants to hear you. And when he manifests something on your tongue, it's because he wants you he wants to give it to you. All you have to do is have patience and recognize that he's al-Hakim, and give yourself this kind of peace that whatever Allah's hikmah dictates, I'm happy with it. And once you actually enter into a state of total submission, total acceptance, that, you know what, I am totally satisfied. Rida is to have this state of contented acceptance. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, for where I'm at right now, with everything that I have right now. Regardless of what I ask for, I don't feel a sense of deficiency when I'm asking for it. I'm asking for it because it's something else that I desire for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But how Allah has me right now, alhamdulillah. Once you enter into that state of gratitude, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. Once you actually have proper gratitude for what you have, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam.